Train by day, Kyle Wigginton podcast by night, all day.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's the haircut that shows for the most part, honestly.
I mean, the haircut, it does a lot for your image, right?
Yeah, I mean, Towner's the one who convinced me to get this haircut because he told me that when I had long hair, he said it looks better when it's pulled back. So I was like, I think showing my face is the better move than having super long hair.
How do you get a haircut like that?
Well, I showed my guy, Dustin, who cuts my hair. I showed him a picture. Never done that before, honestly. Because I didn't think that was a real thing you could do. I've just never, I didn't think you could be like, do this. And I went there and he was like, oh, you want curtains? And so then he just gave me like the swoop.
So it has a name.
Yeah. Yeah, curtains. But I think that just might be lingo. You know, it's just a middle part with kind of the waviness in the front.
I always walk in and just say, give me the high bald fade.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they have questions after that. They're like, well, how bald do you want it?
You're like, how bald can we get? I don't know.
Like, do you want a skin fade or like what? And I'm like, I don't fucking know. Just cut it, dude.
Yeah, my mom used to get me. I mean, I didn't know it was a fade, but she used to get me these aggressive buzz cuts up until like 5th grade. I think right when I was in like middle school was when kids, boys especially, started getting the longer hair because of like Justin Bieber or something. Mm-hmm. And I remember I had the Bieber cut for like a good 3 to 4 years after that.
I had the Beatles cut for a while. Just like the long ass hair.
Yeah, I'm with that.
Super long, dude.
I was in high school. I tried out, I used to have long hair in a middle part, and I really liked it, especially because it was my hair was a little bit more tenable back then for whatever reason. So it like swooped back really nice. And I was also in a musical Spam-A-Lot, like Monty Python and the Holy Grail. And I played Galahad, who's like the sexy knight. So I was like, perfect hair, perfect show. This is great.
How long do you have to re-up on that haircut?
I think I have like really consistent hair growth, but it is not that fast. This has been over like a month already that I've just let this grow out. It looks exactly the same as the day that I got it cut. So I take so long in between haircuts that by the time I get my next haircut, I won't remember the last haircut. I won't remember when that was because it takes like at least 6 months.
It's impressive.
Yeah, I let it grow for a while. I mean, I don't know unless somebody tells me again, unless I see Towner in the next month and he's like, it's grown out, you need to cut it again. I don't know. I might leave it.
You always got to trust the gay guy's opinion.
Yeah. I mean, Towner especially just because he has never had so much enthusiasm when talking to me as when he told me that my hair looked better.
Bro, his hair is immaculate too.
Yeah, true. And honestly, when he is misbehaving on Sundays here, his wigs are kind of off the chain. Yeah.
So he's a mullet. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
Is that what you call that?
Yeah, I mean...
And he fucking pulls it off, too.
I don't know if I could legally tell him that he has a mullet, but I think that's what you would call the hairstyle.
I think he would say that he has a mullet.
Yeah, it just feels different on Towner than most people who have mullets.
So there's only 2 people that I've ever seen... Well, I guess 2 entities that I've ever seen pull off a mullet. And Towner is one of them. Yeah. And a Yorkie...
Okay.
As another one.
Like a dog?
A dog, yes.
Yeah, I'm with that. I have a friend named Crockett McKelvin that rocks a mullet. Yeah. And his name sounds like he should be able to, and
Absolutely.
he can. Crockett McKelvin. He sounds like he was in the Alamo, honestly. So I feel like that's where mullets were invented.
Ben Bauman.
Bauman.
God damn it.
All good. I have friends I've known for my whole life who don't know how to say my last name. So
could it be said Bowman? Is it like a potato thing?
I mean, the amount of people who've mispronounced my name seem to think it can be, right? I would say that I've met one other person I was not related to who had a last name Bauman before. His did have 2 N's at the end, but he also made a point in calling it Bauman. I think, honestly, if I had 2 N's, I feel like you would just pronounce it stronger and you would probably say Bauman. I feel like the second end would kind of add some depth there. But I like the 1 N. That's my preference.
That's interesting you say that because I never actually thought about names with multiple N's and stuff in them. I guess that would just mean more emphasis.
I feel like you would pronounce it more German. And that would be more like Bauman.
Bauman.
Yeah. And one time I went to Best Buy and the guy who was like working the place, I don't know how I told him. Somehow I told this cashier at Best Buy I was German. And he was like, oh, cool. And I was like, do you speak German? He was like, yeah. And I was like, what does my last name mean? My dad told me it means like strong man or like construction worker in German. And the guy looked at my last name and he goes, actually, your last name doesn't mean anything because it's missing an N. And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
So what if it has an N? What does it mean?
I think what I thought it meant, strong man or construction worker. I was a little bit disheartened to continue asking after he told me my name. In fact, did not mean anything. I think it means my family probably weren't Nazis because as soon as that stuff probably was going down, I think that's when they took the N off.
Oh, to change their name.
Yeah.
I've actually heard this a lot, especially with like Jewish folks too.
Yeah.
Like sometimes they change their name just so they don't appear as Jewish.
Yeah, I'm with that. I mean, my family, unfortunately, is on the wrong side of the German bloodline, I would say.
Well, not if they didn't.
Yeah, they would left before then, right? But I think maybe I had some distant cousins or something in 1940 that were not making good choices. But hey, I didn't know them. So it's fine.
Does that make you question what the choices are today that we would look back and go, why are we doing this?
Yeah. I mean, I think about stuff like that all the time. I mean, I am just inundated with social media on a daily basis. And I think just that in general will probably be looked pretty unfavorably in the future just because of what it does to people's like attention span, what it does for like the rumor mill. I thought Kate Middleton, like the future queen consort of England, was dead for like a while because there was like articles on TikTok coming out being like, she's missing, blah, blah, blah. It turns out she had like cancer or something awful, but it was just like, I don't know.
I didn't know any of this.
I'm a big fan of the royal family. I one night did like a deep dive because on Wikipedia, if you go, this is so stupid, but if you go to like the King of England, King Charles, and then it'll say previous throne holder, like previous person will be like Queen of England, and you keep going back, and I just kept clicking as far back as Wikipedia would take me, and it goes pretty far back.
Dude, I love Wikipedia rabbit holes.
Yeah, I remember I took a business law class for my undergraduate, and he was like, you don't have to take the quiz today if you can tell me who was the longest reigning monarch before Queen Elizabeth. And I had done what I just told you literally the night before, and I went Queen Victoria, and he goes, you still have to take the quiz.
Wow, what a dick. And people in the class were probably like, who is this guy?
Well, it was also weird because I was a theater major, so I pretty much and I'm not bad at school, but I mean, I think being a theater major will tell you I'm not a huge fan of it. So I was putting off all my harder classes. So I was in a class of a bunch of 18-year-olds, and I was like 22 sitting there being like, Queen Victoria. And
just
I think
crushing it.
I think everybody else in the class was like, oh, this is what they teach you if you make it all 4 years. So
just crushing it, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been down some crazy Wikipedia rabbit holes too that, it's fun. It's cool how the links like click to other things.
Yeah, right. I mean, you'll find something like I'll just see something where I go to an article and I'm trying to look at something and I find something else. And at the top, it'll be like, you might be looking for this version of what you looked up, but I'll still read the wrong article because I'm like, hey, dude, it's pretty cool. I mean,
10 minutes later, you have 20 tabs open.
Yeah, I have a hard time having tabs not open. If I open my phone, I mean, sometimes there's this video that is like on the internet that I don't know. I used to love Vine when I was a young boy, and I'll still have like video. Like I probably have a Vine on my phone up right now just to show people. It was one of my favorite Vines. Might be a little inappropriate, but it's like this teenage dude. And he's like, pull up to the scene with my penis missing, and he stands up and it's like he's putting his like penis between his legs, and and my 12-year-old humor at the time, I still find that just as funny to the.
Well, I just laughed.
Yeah, exactly. The imagery is good, and then people, I will say, I get mixed reactions when people are like, "That's been open on your phone," and I'm like, "Hey, it's not what you think. It's because you can't see his penis." I don't know.
Today, people are a little more sensitive than they used to be.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that as a comedian, I'm not as sensitive, but then I find people giving me very light critiques to which I think about for the next 2 weeks. So,
such as?
I don't know. Like one time after a show, a guy came up to me and he said, "Hey, how long are you doing comedy?" And this is after I had, this mic keeps moving. My bad.
Yeah, talking to the front too.
Yeah, heard. But
it's right here.
Oh, word. Okay. Well, then I can do that.
Yeah.
Either way, he came up to me after the show. I didn't think I had that great of a set. I wasn't expecting a lot of conversation afterwards, but a man came up to me. He goes, "How long have you been doing stand-up comedy?" And I go, "Oh, like 4 or 5 years." And he goes, "Keep working on your craft."
Wow.
And then he just left. And I was like, okay.
What a fucking dick, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I've gotten every
time. Does he do comedy too?
No, that was a random man.
That's what you should have asked me. Usually you get on stage.
Yeah. Even last night, I mean, a lot of comedians who were there where I was at Comedy House where I performed last night would agree that at the beginning of the show, the audience was a little strange. Right. The host, who's a good friend of mine, Troy, was having a hard time. I went up there, had a horrible time, like literally felt like I couldn't hear a single laugh. I mean, I was in my head for sure. I don't think I was doing as bad as I actually thought. But then I got off stage and like an hour later, this guy came up to me. He's like, "Hey man, I saw you a couple months ago here. You were very funny. I don't know why nobody was laughing today." And I was like, "Why weren't you laughing?" I was confused. I was like, "If I was so funny, What's the deal? And then then I went back inside. Never talked to him again. So
dang. Shouts out Troy Duchesne.
Yeah, Troy is dope. Love Troy to death. Me and him host a monthly show at P Rogues, Whiskey Bayou in Araby. Hard room to fill up, especially because last time we had the show, the whole bridge was closed and it sits right at the end of like the bridge that goes into Araby. So all good though.
Yeah, I don't know. You've been crushing it here, dude.
Oh, this is all the big things that have happened in my life since the last time I was on the podcast. I got a haircut. I had lost like 2 to 4 pounds. And also I've hosted this show for 6 weeks and it's been absolutely phenomenal. So yeah.
Yeah, you've been crushing it here. The comedians that are coming in now are awesome.
Yeah.
What you said you had some stories that have been happening here. What kind of stories you got for me?
Well, first of all, on like not a funny note or anything, I will say that I have gotten an absolutely like kind of baffling amount of support from people in the community that I've just seen here when I came to the open mic. Like more people than I know like care about it than I thought before I started hosting it. Like there are people who are just regulars who maybe don't even always listen to the show while it's happening. But like those are the people who are really coming up to me and like, hey, I really like what you're doing. I really like what's going on here. And I don't know, that just helps me feel like kind of a part of like the larger community, which I'm a big fan of. But funny stories that have happened. I will say the funniest thing to me that seems to be happening on a regular basis is I try to tell the comics, sign-ups at 8, shows at 8:30. And then every single night I'll start the show being like, I have 2 comics. This show's going to be 20 minutes long. And then as soon as I get on stage or right when I get off stage and the first comic's up, there's a line of no lie, like 16 comics that just come flooding in here and fill up my list. Yeah. And then I'm like, oh, I guess I'm not leaving till 11:30 tonight, which is the best case scenario, honestly. And I would say I've been told that I can use like this little tip bucket over here while I'm doing the show, but I just have such a good time while I'm doing the show. And it's been so popping when I come here that I have had no desire to tell people to pay me any money, which is a first for me. I usually ask for money quite a bit from people. So
yeah, no, it's pretty incredible how many comedians actually come to this show.
Yeah, last week we've been having over 20 comedians at least for like the last 3 weeks. And even it's always been at least right around 20 by the end of the night. Yeah. Like the first week, I remember I stretched out the show a little bit longer than the comedians who had signed up would have made the show. Like I did a little extra time, invited somebody back up. But after the first week, I mean, people have just been like pouring in this place. I've had to I keep trying to find more seats in the building and I'm just like, how many seats can I fit in this little crevice over here? How many seats can I pack in right there? I remember like I put 2 seats right there on that little wall thing, those 2 yellow seats in the third room.
Yeah.
And it worked. People sat there. I was very happy with myself, especially because Edward Spots, who has been on this show.
That's great.
Phenomenal supporter of the open mic. I think he's only done comedy at my open mic.
Dude, I can't keep up with his posts.
Yeah, me either. Yeah. I feel bad that I'm not promoting the show enough when Edward is posting a few times a week about it. And he had a headshot in the last one. I was like, damn, Edward, what are you doing? Because he has been bringing a good amount of people every week. And I have been like, oh, if we're, and that was during the summer, which is New Orleans historically slow months of the year where you're not usually getting the biggest amount of business. And he was bringing enough people to pack it out. And so on Tuesday this week, I got here early because I was like, I need to figure out a way to pack the most seats possible in here. Because if Edward brings people, and then also, as I expected, like a ton of college students would be out because it was the beginning of the school year. This place was pretty much packed all night with like a ton of like what I like on a long show like that. There were a lot of revolving bodies, like a lot of going in, a lot of going out. And that might sound bad, but it just like, some people can't sit through a 3-hour long open mic. And so it's good, like halfway through the show, maybe like 4 people will leave. And then just because immediately we already have a ton of people standing there, you'll have 4 people slide in. Yeah. And it's been pretty awesome. My main thing is I keep trying to set the seats up, like the tables in a way that make it easier for people to sit in the front row, because working at a comedy club, that's the one thing that seems to be true no matter where or what's going on at a comedy show, is people will sit in the second row.
Yeah, nobody will sit in the front row.
They'll sit in the second row, not knowing that if nobody sits in the front row, the second row became the front row. Yeah. So it's like, I don't get that, because at first few weeks I was putting 3 tables up here and then 2 in the back. Now I've switched that up because I'm like 2 tables in the front, 3 in the back. Maybe some brave people will sit there. But I've been using my house management skills a little bit because if I see people walking in and watching the show from over there, I will walk them into those seats just so they don't. So they sit down, they'll have a good time. I mean, last week we had a very fun group in the audience. I remember there's a guy in like a Bulldog shirt who wanted to own a dispensary, so that was pretty cool. I was like, makes sense. That adds up.
In New Orleans?
I don't know because that's not really a good place to try to own a dispensary nowadays.
I feel like you got to get to know these people.
Yeah, I know. I mean, he was sitting next to somebody that was like, I'm like a botany major, and the other one was like, I'm gonna be like a lawyer or something. And I was
they were meant to cross paths.
I was like, I thought he was just like kind of a weed smoker who had a Bulldog shirt on, just talking out of his ass. But then by the end of it, I was like, seems like you've got it all together, man.
Yeah.
Like I remember if I had started comedy and I had just known somebody like a producer and I had known like people that had venues and stuff, that would have been awesome.
Absolutely.
This guy has already got his whole life plan lined out. So
yeah, I think when you're doing anything on a larger scale, you can't do it all yourself. You have to find people around you that can fill in gaps that you have.
Yeah, and luckily, literally the main gaps that I have on this show would be like gaps in comedians who sign up, and the comedians come at the perfect time every single night to fill in all those gaps. I also have, I don't have a space like this to produce comedy. So, the fact that you're letting me come here and do this, I find very awesome. And I'm very appreciative.
I'd love to fill your gap, Ben.
Oh, thank you. All right, cool. Excellent. Hey, didn't know that's where this combo was going, but that's fine, dude. Hopefully I get a free drink out of this. But there's been so many funny things that have been happening. And I wouldn't even say like funny, haha. The whole show is funny, haha. Don't get me wrong. But like the funny things that I'm noticing are like there are comedians who I've never met before that have been doing it for years who are coming to this mic. And I'm like, you didn't come to this mic when I was coming to this mic. I've never met you. Who are you? And people are showing up. They're like, I run this show over here. I run this show over here. And I just thought I've been doing it for 6 years. I do work at a comedy club. I also do shows all around the city.
It's a very small crew
you come
too.
to think that you've met every comedian in the world or every comedian that you could meet in a close vicinity. And then you meet people who are like, yeah, I moved away for 4 years. Now I live here again. And then everybody who's doing comedy here longer than me is like, oh, you don't know this person? They're phenomenal. And I'm like, oh, welcome to the show.
Yeah. Welcome to Ben Bauman's comedy show.
Yeah. And I will, it's getting funnier and funnier every week because audiences like we're transitioning more into the college. And so last Tuesday was like the first night where like a lot of comics were like, make some noise if you go to college and like what's your major, yada yada yada. And most of those comics, to be honest, were me. I was doing a lot of crowd work in between comics. It was very cool though. I had a very fun time. Edward was having a good time that night as well. Edward was having fun on last Tuesday too.
He did have a blast, and luckily I was here last Tuesday. I'm not normally here on comedy nights, but it was cool to come here and actually see what you've been doing and like see the changes and stuff. And it looks nice. And if you ever need more chairs,
heck yeah.
You know who to call.
Yeah, Kyle, you are the first person I'm calling if I need chairs. I will say this. I love it. And I don't know if this is a reflection of hard work paying off or maybe just luck. Because sometimes I feel like, I spread word of mouth. I tell everybody I can about the show. I tell all the comics to come to the show every single week whenever I see them. But like in a large way, I feel like I have nothing to do with the success of this open mic. Like that's how it feels to me. That's good. That's how overwhelming I feel like the mic is in terms of success. I feel like I have nothing to do with it. In fact, I feel like I have little control.
I think that's when you know you're doing something right, is whenever you can step away from it and everyone else is doing things to help you grow it too. Because that's the same way I feel about this business. It's like I worked initially on the front end to get it all set up.
Right.
And now I've kind of stepped away and I'm kind of letting the business evolve.
Yeah.
And the natural evolution of a business when people actually care about it is they're going to help pitch in and grow it.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one of the main spots I would say that has such a variety of events and shows that y'all do. You have like a mixed music, whatever, open mic on Thursdays. You have karaoke on Sundays. You've got my comedy mic on Tuesdays. I know that y'all do like painting classes and stuff too. Y'all do what? Y'all have Super Smash Bros tournaments here. Y'all just pretty much everything that if you were a person who lived down the street from this bar, this would be the place you'd want to go, I would imagine. And everybody who comes here regularly feels to me like they live 2 blocks away. So
yeah, it's almost like their second living room.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I like that because I'll come here like before the show and there'll just be like a group of people sitting right here. Like last Tuesday, there was like a group of 4 people sitting right here and they were hanging out, having a great time. They truly had no idea what was going on. I set up all the mics and stuff and they're like, what's going on? Is this, you want to do some poetry later? And I was like, it's a comedy open mic. And they're like, awesome, cool. And then 20 minutes later, they were gone and we were filling it up with completely different people. So, I mean, I just like, outside of doing comedy, I just like being like kind of a staple here where people can recognize me when I come in and they can say hi, and it just gives me a better chance to have a pleasant first interaction with people, which I think is what a lot of people would want in terms of like, I'm a kind of a social butterfly. I like to talk to people, I like to get to know people. So to have kind of like this space where people are like, oh, you're the host of this show here. It's a great feeling. I love it.
It's a very cool spot for networking too. So you're right there. Yeah. I mean, I meet people like working on their PhDs at Tulane and stuff. And it's just cool to have the conversations I can have with those people are something that you would never be able to have with just a regular person at a different dive bar. Yeah.
I mean, I will say this. We are so close to 2 colleges, and y'all do definitely get your fair share of college students, but just the overwhelming, just local support, like non-students, fully grown working adults that come to this place on a regular basis is kind of astounding, because you have something like Dat Dog, which is a great business model. They run a fantastic business, but they make a lot of money off college students. I mean, what is more college food than a hot dog, you know? And people would say that about any bar that's near a college. How is it not filled with college students? I think it just goes back to the fact that, like you said, people do support this place because it's got such a strong tie. It has such strong ties to the people who live around here, and people love it for that reason. Myself included.
Yeah. You got any shows coming up?
I'm happy you asked. I will say, of course, I've got this show this Tuesday. Also, starting in September, I am doing another monthly show at Comedy House called Open Mic from Hell. We took a break in August. It's a great show.
What is that? What's the Open Mic from Hell premise?
Well, it's an open mic, so comedians sign up, but there will be a host, my friend Chris, and myself. I'm kind of like the on-stage DJ / co-host, and comedians come up there and they have to pull a little challenge from a bucket. Ooh. And that challenge could be anything like, do your set with a designated heckler who has a microphone in the audience and can say whatever they want to you. Do your set outside. One time we have Hellraisers, like guest hosts that come and share the stage with us, and they bring their own challenges. One time a Hellraiser made a comedian eat a ghost pepper while they were doing their set. And we kept trying to tell them take one small bite, but the comedian seemed to not get that it was not a habanero pepper, and they ate the whole thing. And as a comedy club who serves liquor, we had zero milk, so we were not able to really help with that. There have also been challenges like do your set in the dark. We've had people, one time in Hellraiser made a comedian smoke a full blunt with them and then go back on stage and then do your set. And I don't know how legal that is, but it sure was hilarious. And it always is a great show. It's a little bit different than most comedy shows, but I mean, I think everybody needs that once in a while.
That sounds fun. Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of the more fun shows that we both do at Comedy House and that I've really had the privilege of being a part of. Also, at the first Thursday in September, I'll be hosting a show at P. Rogue's Whiskey Bayou. And also next weekend on Friday or Saturday, one of the two, I can't remember offhand, I will be performing a guest spot at Sports Drink. So I've got a few shows coming up that I'm excited about.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about the Sports Drink place. I haven't been there yet, though.
I've been there for a Sam Talent show, which was phenomenal. It's like the space on Instagram seems pretty small, but when you go in there, you just realize how tightly packed it is. And that is always a good thing for a comedy show. It's like the more people you can fit into that space, no matter how small, the more close you are to other people. The closer you are to other people laughing, the more likely you are to laugh, which makes more likely everyone to laugh. So that place, I mean, somebody described that room to me as a kill box, like in terms of like, it's like shooting fish in a barrel when you go in there because people are so ready to laugh. They're so willing to laugh. And the ambiance is so like, in a way that's very similar to this place. It is kind of like just hip. It just has like a hip vibe, you know, like people go there and they're like, this is cool. The stage has like those big orange Gatorade canisters on the back of it. And it looks so cool. And I know that the guy who runs it, Andrew, is phenomenal. They also make some pretty crazy drinks. I think that might have something to do with them selling coffee during the day. So like during comedy shows, their drinks will be wild. And they have a host, Marcus Bond, who was a previous host here, as I've mentioned before. He is like one of their main guys, and he has really been pushing for all these comedians to be a part of these shows there. So, I mean, I just appreciate what's going on over there.
When is that show?
The show I'm on?
Yeah.
Let me see right quick. Let me check my phone if you don't mind.
I'll slide through and I'll check that one out because I'll check the space out and also get your set.
Heck yeah. Marcus actually put me on this show, so I just have to look at his last text about it. Marcus, here we go. Got you on next weekend with Amy Miller guest spots. So that means I must be on multiple shows. So next weekend, Amy Miller, whether it be on Friday or Saturday, they have a schedule fully lined out. If you just want to look at it, I will be doing guest spots for her. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'll check it out, man. I'll come hang out one night, probably like a Saturday or something.
Cool. That's awesome. I mean, it's very cool. And also it really just has the vibe where people will just be hanging out outside after the shows are over in a very fun way. I mean, Sam Talent hung out outside the show after he was done, and that guy seems like too big to be anywhere. He's like 6'8". He's giant.
Yeah.
It's crazy because it's like the ceilings in there are like 7'5" or something. So he was
like ducking a little bit.
He was so tall in there, it was wild, but he did great. I mean, it's awesome to watch a great comedian just master, like the smaller a room, the more intimate the show, the more crazy things a comedian's probably going to do. And that's exactly what it was.
I feel that way about all live performances. Like we saw, I forgot who the fucking band was, this huge band whenever I was in my teenage years. But then I was in Little Rock, Arkansas living at the time, and I heard this band were playing down the street from where I was at in this little bitty bar. Turns out it was the same band, and they were in like this really intimate space, and the whole place was just packed out because everyone was coming to see them. But I mean, it was like probably one of the best shows I've ever been to. Yeah,
I've been at small venues, like seeing like little niche artists, and it made me for years. Like there's this rapper named Felly. I haven't kind of fell off on being a fan, to be honest, but in high school, I don't know, my high school in Texas, people really liked him. And I went to this show that he had in Dallas and I was like, oh, this guy's famous. I was like, this is full fame because there was like hundreds of people in this tiny little like stage bar area in Texas. And I was like, holy crap, is this guy a millionaire or something? And come to find out that guy has like probably not that many followers on Instagram, to be frank. And it's just wild that can happen at small venues, which it makes me feel famous sometimes performing here because it gets so full.
You're famous in my eyes, Ben.
Thank you, Kyle. Your bandana is famous in my eyes.
Yeah, I heard you talking about it last week.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta mention the bandana. It's a unique style choice that not many dudes can pull off. You do it with grace, though.
Well, the way I trick myself is I tell myself that I'm a king wearing his crown.
Right, I'm with that.
Yeah,
I just am so afraid of losing the already pretty bad hairline that I have that I refuse to put almost anything on my head almost ever.
Well, for me, I know that it's going away anyway.
Sure.
So eventually I'm just getting ready for like a bald head.
Right.
Yeah. And I realized the other day that it's the pre-workout that I take that actually is making it fall out.
What?
Yeah. Someone told me that if you take pre-workout, it raises I believe it's DHT levels.
Yes, I've heard that actually.
And DHT is what makes your hair fall out.
Oh, okay. Well, good on me for never working out. That's perfect. Yeah.
But I mean, I'd rather have these muscles and a bald head than
Right. I mean, I will say as long as I can make it to 30 years old with a reasonable hair, I don't care what happens after that. Because I mean, at 30, it's pretty bald. People are going balder earlier and earlier nowadays. I know my friend Troy, who's younger than I am, completely shaved his head because he's balding. He's 23. I'm like, if I can just have this hair for a few more years, ride this out until maybe I've got a little bit of money.
I did, bro. 35. That's when mine started going out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, that's ideal. My dad still claims to have hair, even though he's got just like a little tuft of stuff in the middle up there.
What's just crazy is my dad has full head of hair still. And that's why it has to be the pre-workout that I take because my dad doesn't work out.
Have you ever heard the thing that it's sometimes your mom's father that gives you your hairline?
He had a full head of hair too.
Damn.
Up until he died.
So you're beating genetics right now.
Yeah, with my muscles, dude.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Hey, usually people don't hear that. But
that's why I'm growing this out though.
No, that'll be good.
Yeah, because Kratos.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going for.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
That's pretty sick. That's a good Halloween costume. Speaking of Halloween costumes, I have told somebody that I want to be the back of a horse and they can be the front of the horse in a horse costume.
Hopefully that was your female friend.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I was like, it'd be weird if you were like telling Troy this.
No, Troy would be the back of the horse if I was going to be a horse.
Honestly, I think you could pull off the back of a horse, bro.
Yeah. Okay.
Once again, we're going back to your butt.
Yeah. Hey,
I did it.
I can't deny it. I just told you I want to be a butt for Halloween.
You pulled it up, bro.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I will say last night I did my fat ass jokes and I don't know. I told somebody I lost 3 pounds and they were like, you're losing your ass. I was like, incorrect. Don't say that. And then I went on stage, I did my ass joke, and the way they reacted, come to find out it was just a weird audience, but the way they reacted, I was like, fuck, it's gone. I was like, they can't even see it now. But I know it's not gone because these pants seem tighter than the last time I wore them. So it's still there.
Yeah. Well, Ben, you got anything else you want to add? I know you got somewhere you got to be today. Saints jersey.
I am going to the game between the Tennessee Titans and the New Orleans Saints today. Mm-hmm. And I mostly said yes because I have a brother-in-law who is a diehard Tennessee Titans fan. And I just kind of want him to be pissed off a little bit that I
is he going to be there too?
No, that's why I wanted to go. So he's a little jealous. So Alex, if you see this, hey, fuck you, man. You got my sister pregnant. I'm kidding. You're cool. Miss you. He did get my sister pregnant, but it's okay.
We'll let you slide this time, Alex.
Yeah, just because you put a ring on it.
The next time you get her pregnant, you're on thin ice, buddy.
I say that as I gush with love for my nephew and my niece. I have a nephew and a niece. One of them is my brother-in-law's child. The other one is also his child, not biologically, but great brother-in-law, great sister. Great nephew and niece. One time my niece did draw a penis on SpongeBob and I had to go tell her mom.
How old is she?
She's 5. So, wow. I mean, she was like, it's SpongeBob. And then she's like, look, a penis. And I was like, no, that's not okay. Also, untrue. He's a sponge.
Is that normal for a 5-year-old kid?
Well, I mean, Sigmund Freud has all these weird phases that are not necessarily true, but do hold some truth. Like you go through like a mouth phase, you go through like an anal phase, and you go through like a genital phase.
And it's like at 5?
Yeah, it's like right around where she is. She just got out of the anal phase, which is mostly just potty training a kid. And then they become aware that they poop and they become interested in their butthole. And then once you move on from the butthole, the only thing to move on to, you would think, is the front parts. Yeah. And also she does have a little brother that's very young. So she probably recently came aware of what a penis was.
Yeah.
So because
kids are so interesting.
Yeah. I mean, my nephew is almost the size of my 5-year-old niece and he's not even a year old. He's a massive dude and she's a small little lady. So pretty cool.
And she'll actually outgrow him before he grows, probably.
Yeah, I mean, she's going to hit a growth spurt soon, hopefully, or we're just going to commit to her being a gymnast. So that'll be dope.
Yeah, I learned something interesting yesterday. I don't want to keep you longer than.
No, you're good, man.
Yeah, no, the interesting thing I learned was that cells have sex.
Cells?
Cells have sex.
Okay.
Yeah, I was talking to a PhD student from Tulane, bioengineering student. And he was talking about how they're just now discovering that cells have sex.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, that's fucking interesting.
Like in the way that they just like mate with each other? Is it like
this cell is a male cell. This cell's a female cell. Yeah. He said, because the DNA that the cells have are what determines the sex of the cell.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So he said that in certain tests that they're doing now, they're having to, they're testing out like whether or not the sex of the cell affects the test. And like that brings up so many questions. He's coming on the podcast soon.
Does that mean that my cells have sex?
Yes. So your cells.
No.
Well, no, they don't have sex. Your cells are male.
Yeah,
cells.
I get it. Yeah.
So I was asking him yesterday about like if someone donated blood and it was a female, would it affect your body because you're a male?
Yeah. Are all my cells male?
Yeah. He was saying yes, they're all male because you're a male.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah. And that was bringing up so many questions that are very hot topics for debate. Like if you give someone donor blood that is a male, but you're giving them female cells, right? Are you going to start having thoughts that you're a female?
I mean, they say things about people who donate organs start having like change in personality and change in like taste preferences. And they'll be like, oh, I like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches because the guy who donated his hand to me loved peanut butter and jellies.
The reason I'm bringing it up on this podcast is because he told me not to ask him that question on his podcast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was like, I can ask it on everyone else's though, right?
True. Just bring up the question.
Yeah. Cause it's a whole, gender's like a whole fucking crazy ass topic.
And I mean, like what if you are a trans person? How does that apply to your cells? I have no idea, but that's just a very interesting and seemed like possibly controversial topic.
Absolutely. Here we are today. No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, I'm not equipped.
Now, Ben, I appreciate you coming in today. And I hope you enjoy your Sunday football game.
Oh, I definitely will. I'll be getting day drunk and then hopefully go into an open mic to perform later. So
tonight there's one?
Actually at Comedy House, a comedian named Ryan Rogers is doing a new show called joke court where there's a defense attorney and a prosecuting attorney on stage, and the defense attorney defends your jokes and the prosecuting attorney tells you why they suck. And then Ryan is the judge. So
that sounds fun.
It will be fun. A lot of good ideas coming around in New Orleans comedies nowadays.
It's actually pretty incredible. I mean, the guys that are, you got all you guys that are doing it, like you, Ryan, Troy. I mean, there's tons of other too. But I mean, like the creative ideas you're coming up with are what's making it fun.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have enthusiasm about what you do. And if you don't, then you're just not doing it right. So I think ideas come from enthusiasm. And I've got that coming in spades.
Love it. Yeah. Thanks for coming in today, Ben.
Hey, good to see you, man.